Public CEO Report is a podcast that provides insights about the public sector and public policy for the benefit of decision makers and leaders powering our communities. I'm your host, Ryder Todd Smith, and today we're joined by Sydni Overly. She's a director at Smith and product manager for Local Information Network of Knowledge, otherwise called LINK. Sydni, welcome to the Public CEO Report.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
All right. Well, full disclosure to the audience, right? Smith is I'm president and CEO of Smith. At the same time, we run Public CEO and the Public CEO podcast. You are on our team at Smith, and I think you might be breaking down barriers here. You might be the first guest on the podcast who is a Smith employee. So congratulations. Way to be a trailblazer.
Thank you.
All right. Awesome. So first, real quick, just tell me a little bit about your background, Sydni. Like, what did you do before life at Smith, and what have you been doing since you got to the firm?
Yes. So before life at Smith, I worked for the city of Gardena, where I kind of bounced around different departments and positions. I started in Recreation and Human Services Department, and then I made my way to the city manager's office. And then through that, I also got into emergency management, where I helped to run our emergency response for COVID and civil unrest during that time. And then before that, I went to undergrad at Boston University, got my bachelor's in sociology, and then I pursued my master's in public administration at Long Beach. So I've always been interested in government and policy, and kind of paved my way to Smith.
All right. And what have you been doing since you've been at the firm now? Because you've been here 3 or 4 years?
4 years in May, so very soon.
Wow.
Yes, I started as a business analyst and have recently made my way to director. So I have worked on a ton of projects, got to work with a ton of agencies throughout California and also Washington. I now currently live in Washington, so it's been great to be able to kind of work with cities where I actually live.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked on various strategic communication projects, general communication projects. When I first joined the firm, I did a lot of redistricting and districting work because it was around 2021.
Yeah.
And through that, I've also worked on a lot of crisis comms, obviously with the Malibu fire response. I've been working with that team on a lot of communications, and also the city of Richland on we did a communications assessment for them and strategic plan. And now we're doing some communications and outreach for their downtown connectivity project, which is now going to be called The Loop. So super excited. Just a ton of different projects, and the breadth of which we get to touch is pretty incredible here at Smith. So it's been great to work with a ton of different agencies on a ton of different subject matters.
Well, I should also just first of all, you have touched a lot of elements, and we're really proud of your work product here, and effort and energy and intellect, which is why we were thrilled to recently promote you to director. It was well earned, and the team really gravitates towards your leadership as well. So thank you for all your work here. Among those things that you work on is this actually, and I should also just pause, and I just want to give a shout out to Alyssa Palma, because Alyssa Palma introduced me to you and suggested I talk to you about joining the firm. And I thank God every day Alyssa Palma did. So Alyssa, if you listen to this podcast, God bless you. So what is, we're really here today though, to talk about something that I think strikes at the ethos of Smith and what we're trying to get done in the local government world. But as a product, it's a service as opposed to people hours and time that we deliver with our consulting work. And this is one of kind of several forays we've gotten into with other ventures, including our talent solutions division and our public CEO publication. But tell me about Local Information Network of Knowledge, or LINK. Like, what was the intent? What's that product all about? Let's start with that.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I've always been super interested in government and policy work, and this actually came up at a lunch we were having with a client, where we recognized a gap as far as like information sharing among agencies. Like, we have a lot of great resources and organizations out there, but there's nothing to centralize and archive information like staff reports, RFPs, policies. So we had a conversation about what it would take to kind of build that platform. And you gave me a stream of consciousness, if I recall. you had some ideas, and I kind of put together a team with your support, and we built this platform, and it's essentially a one-stop shop for information for local government professionals. So the idea of Link is that it makes your job easier as a local government professional to find information, crowdsource information, and then also share your own resources. So the idea is to create this platform that will eventually regulate itself because we'll have a ton of members who are just actively contributing content to the platform and
Yeah.
keeping it updated.
So there's a lot to unpack there. I'd say the one thing that's unique about the local government world is, with the exception of a couple of economic development scenarios and maybe some disagreements over some regional issues that come up, for the most part, all cities get along and they collaborate and they try to, and they all face similar problems. And I think one thing we're aware of in this space is that cities have shared issues and concerns. And oftentimes, the best thing you can do is to see what somebody else has done and pick it up as a best practice, or at least a common practice, and bring it over to your organization. And associations exist to help share this. You can kind of swing a cat and you're going to hit 15 dozen associations in local government. We love ourselves some associations. But the idea here, I think, extending on your comments, was how do we make that sharing process as seamless as possible? There are lots of listserv solutions out there that are run by associations. Why are those not? What's the shortcoming of those?
So from at least, I guess I should note that we are part of listservs of like CSDA, ICMA, MMASC, MMANC. So we get all of the listservs that come in. And essentially, it is just an email digest or an email into the abyss with not a good archiving mechanism. So from my experience, it's been we'll receive an email from a listserv asking a particular question, and then there's no way to like document the answers or anything unless you're tracking on that email thread. So it's kind of chaotic as far as the tracking mechanism is. And also, how many questions I've seen that are the same question or like the same subject matter that's sent through the same listserv is kind of incredible. So clearly, local governments are all dealing with the same thing, which is something that we recognize as well in our client work.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no clear way to like archive that and be able to go back to it and revisit like an entire thread of everyone's knowledge. So that is what Link tries to encapsulate is we want to be able to archive that so we can one showcase the time of which like these updates were shared and then also how things have changed over time because we know that policies evolve, things change, processes change, and we want to make sure that we're actually like providing a full like forum that kind of tells a story about like we started here, here's an updated version, here's another updated version.
Yeah, so 100% true. Like, these things do evolve, and to the extent you have a one addressing homelessness ordinances, and there's been an evolution of that with clearly Supreme Court rulings and a new wave in 2025 now of cities adopting new ordinances to implement some of the grants pass ruling elements. You'd want to see an evolution of some of that information on a centralized platform. Also, if you are using a listserv and in the traditional ones that are out there, and you don't happen to be subscribed 3 years ago, you're not going to have the content from 3 years ago. You're only going to have the content as of the time you became a management analyst and signed up for the listserv. And I think part of the point of Link is to create a longer history and longevity of that content, because oftentimes this content has durability, right? It can survive multiple years and therefore be a resource to go find some of the information or see that evolution. And you just don't get that right now with the traditional listservs that are being operated. So one of the challenges that exists with listservs too is you can't go back in time and capture the emails that would have been generated from a traditional listserv. So if you only signed up for the listserv today, you wouldn't have the emails from last week discussing a particular topic that may be of interest to you. And we think it's one of the reasons why people ask redundant questions that have been asked and answered, maybe answered, we don't know, from previous questions. So you do miss that you kind of arrive fresh, and you only have the knowledge that is being projected or shared by the listserv at that point forward. I am curious from your perspective as a management aide who had done work in the city of Gardena, and you jumped around a couple departments and changed the role and the work you were doing. when you reflect back with that lens in your Gardena work about lessons learned, how would you, how has Link and the evolution of Link affected or been affected by your viewpoint of that experience and what you wish you would have had as an employee at that time?
I think Link would have been an instrumental resource for me, especially the city of Gardena was the first city I worked for, and I was learning a lot of new things along the way, and also doing a lot of research on human services programs and different things that other agencies are doing, maybe grant opportunities that exist. And I was doing a lot of research from scratch. I was also not really knowledgeable that associations were a thing. Like I said, I was new to the landscape, so I was doing a lot of the grunt work of like Google research, getting into the weeds of things, and it would have been so nice to be able to reference work that has already been done from other agencies and learn best practices. And I feel like Link kind of gives you that at your fingertips. And I feel it would have streamlined the process of just me figuring a lot of those things out and coming to conclusions a lot faster, instead of having to do the legwork of such extensive research.
Yeah. So partly this is a productivity enhancer, especially for the management analysts and management aides and all the kind of analytical staff that fill city halls and are tasked with any number of different things to go figure out, right? Like there's just this catch-all of miscellaneous stuff, usually coming out of the city manager's office, but every department could have it. And they're like, I got to go figure this out. And especially for those that are early in their careers, having access to resource, I think from our perspective was super important to provide something that was organized. The maybe another nuance here to talk about as well is it's not just about having a technology platform that's designed to hold all this content and have durable content that's useful, but we actually have human beings behind the scenes that are involved in curating that content. Can you talk a little bit about that as well and the value of that?
So I think the biggest thing I've learned in this entire process is that content is only new for a short period of time because things do change, and fairly quickly. Not, I mean, I know we always talk about the bureaucracy of it all and things being a little bit slower, but information does change. New processes come to light, and the beauty of us being able to moderate content is that we are so aware of what's actually on the platform as far as like certain subject matters, things like that. So when we're seeing listservs come in or like having hot topics raised among our clients, we're able to one, distinguish like, okay, this is a hot topic that we should definitely be writing about and provide like a thorough explanation or guidance for, versus like, okay, we do have a ton of examples from other agencies we've collected, like we can post this as like a collaborative forum. So I think having that knowledge of everything that's going on the site, and then also knowing like, okay, we already have this housing element policy or process, there's changes to it, let's go in and update that immediately. So having that knowledge and knowing that we have these things and are aware of the policy changes that are happening on the day to day, we have the power to like ensure that things are accurate and still relevant for everyone who uses it.
So and we're accomplishing that by actually dedicating staff to either generate initial content to seed the discussions, and then obviously to when we have content engagement or there's some update that we become aware of, we can just update that as well to really curate that and try to keep it timely and supportive.
Yeah, so our role is essentially we manage the site and we're essentially moderators of the site as far as all the content's concerned, but we are also doing our own legwork to develop content, identify hot topics. And then with that too, we've also created the synergy with Public CEO of doing staff report of the months, where we do take submissions for that. So if you do have a staff report that you're really proud of, please submit it through our website. But we are also identifying staff reports that we can also add to link on our existing articles, or we will write an article around that staff report. So that way we can like promote that in Public CEO and really highlight the good work that local government professionals are doing. And also the innovative side of we created this like program or we implemented this policy and it's really great for our community. So I think seeing that synergy among Public CEO and Link and just the information sharing in general has been great.
Yeah. There's so much work that goes into producing staff reports, right? I mean, it's a crazy amount of work. I see it really drives the cadence at city halls is every 2 weeks, we got to get the agenda pulled together. We got to get our staff reports done. And so it is a critical point or juncture in the governance process that yields written documents and materials for the sake of transparency and informing your council and things like that. So, and I shouldn't say just council, like this could spread beyond cities as well, like it cover other general topics. But the point is, there's a huge amount of intellectual resource or IP, public IP, that's been developed in those staff reports, and we probably don't do enough as a community and local government to highlight and celebrate those reports and really expose them for others to take advantage of. I certainly know of cases where, you know, folks call their neighboring friend in a similar role in another city and say, "Hey, have you done a staff report on X?" And then they'll get the Word version of it and use that as a starter point. And partly with Link, we're trying to expedite that process where you're not just able to tap the network of 5 or 10 people you know around you in your county, but you can tap the entirety of California's marketplace and tap into all 483 cities to theoretically find the ideas or staff reports that are going to serve best for your particular community. And so harnessing all that seems super important to me from my perspective. So we talked about this a little bit in that part of the goal here is just to enhance productivity, right? This is a productivity enhancer for staff to help them be able to get more done more quickly. But who ultimately is the target audience for Link?
The target audience for Link is all local government professionals because there is just so much knowledge on there that I think anyone would benefit from. But I think the day-to-day management analysts, the planners, directors, like people looking for new ideas or looking to see how another agency has implemented a particular program or practice. Um, this is kind of a well-rounded site to where I feel anyone in the local government space would benefit. And I will note that this is tailored to California local government professionals at this minute, just because we work with mostly California agencies. This is our home. And this is where we're a bit more versed as far as like state policies as well. So we're tailoring this more towards California agencies at the minute.
Yeah. Uh, when so I would just note too that a lot of the content that's been drafted by Tripp Smith resources on the team. It's part of it's an integrated part of the onboarding process at the firm, as well as just leveraging resources when we have availability to put into work on some healthy content that we think could be helpful to the broader marketplace. So as a result, we've already seeded a number of articles there. How many topics have we seeded at this point within Link, Sydney?
We have around 80 topics that are like fully fleshed out with like clear examples of like staff reports, RFPs, and we emphasize the importance of examples. I know from experience just how important and helpful it is to see a full-fledged thing on its own and then
Yeah.
be able to customize that for my own agency. So we overemphasize examples as much as possible. So in all of the like curated topics that you see on the actual platform, those are all fleshed out very nicely. Also has like implementation tips depending on what it is. So if you're thinking about a buy local program, it has like key things that you need to think about when you are tailoring this for your agency, as well as key examples of community outreach and things like that. But we have like I'd say around 80 topics fully fleshed out, and then we have an ongoing like community forum side where we're kind of collecting all of the listservs and answers that are happening and actually posting that so it's archived there. And the beauty of both of these like curated topics and forums is members can leave comments on their own. So even if it's like a fully fleshed out write up, you can still drop your own examples and comments on that particular thread. And it's all centralized. So the minute you search a key term, you'll be able to see that whether it's a forum or curated topic because the site scrapes everything on the site. So the search bar is going to be your best friend on this, but we do have a ton of content on there and there's a ton of subject matters, even if it's just a few responses from other agencies who are sending you exactly what they put together as far as like an example resource that they've already used.
So for the sake of our audience, just of those 80 build outs, like what are some examples of the kind of content they could expect to find on there?
So content ranges from like administrative policies to like public programs and services. So we have content around like travel and expense policies, volunteer policies, so like those internal policies that you're putting together for staff, as well as like public policies around like cannabis regulations or economic development strategic plans and housing element outreach and policies. So the subject matter and topics are a very wide range. We do our best to make sure we're being mindful about the topics that we are actually investing time in writing, because one, we want to make sure that they're relevant to the actual audience and that they are like a pressing matter at the time. So a lot of the topics that we do choose to write about are like hot topics that we're seeing across a number of clients or repeated listservs that we know are a topic of conversation among local government professionals at this time.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think what I'm also hearing you say is we're not going to write an article about underwater basket weaving, blah 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 blah, because that's just it's such an esoteric topic. It's not. I mean, it's not one we're going to necessarily put staff time into, but that doesn't mean the community can't, right? Like if they want to create their own content around that in a community forum and elevate it to a more curated topic, that's absolutely possible. So I think part of the goal here is to source demand and understand the demand cycle for content, and then be able to match that with some shared content development strategies in collaboration with the community. And a lot of this right now has been centralized on Tripp Smith curated support for the link platform. Clearly, I think the goal is to bring the management analysts into this picture and not ask them to write the articles, but ask them to just share their content and their reports and collaborate and share their ideas so that they have a durable, centralized spot where that content can be used and they can help out their peers.
Yes, so thinking as far as like one, I think one of the goals of Link at this minute is to just boost membership participation on the site. And I think start of the beginning of that is changing our practices as far as like instead of sending an email out to the listserv abyss, actually referencing this platform first to one, uses like as I mentioned, search bar is going to be your best friend to like search the keywords first and you'll be able to tell in the first like 2 seconds if your topic is has been highlighted yet or not. And if not, you have the opportunity to start your own thread and have other people engage that way. And as we talked about, this like archiving feature is great for Link because you can just go back and visit. You can get notifications of when people actually post in that thread or respond to your question. So as much as we are curating and developing content, we also are pushing members to participate and share their own ideas and respond to other forum posts that are up there. And even if we aren't necessarily like writing a topic, we're still pulling questions and examples and posting that onto the site. It's just not a fully fleshed out, like, here's some background information, here's the legal requirements, here are things that you should consider when implementing. But examples and everything are still there because we know that still a valuable resource.
Who has access to Link right now?
Right now, Link is free. If you use a discount code, so if you use PCEO 2025, you can register for free, but you have to use your government issued email to get an account. Um,
So it
and
is limited to government employees at this point.
yes, it's limited to local government professionals.
Okay. And it is free, as you noted.
It is free.
If it's not free, what's the price?
It is $48 a year. And that's an annual subscription that would self-regulate on its own. So you'd get notified as far as invoices due, or a subscription has ended for the year.
For the most part, nobody should have to pay right now. I mean, we're giving away discount codes to encourage participation. We know that more people participating is better for local government. And I mean, the whole point we even got into this was to help local government be successful. So, we're making it available, and we've had, to the best of my recollection, about 100 signups so far. So it's a good start, but it's not nearly reflective of the breadth of the market that's out there. And we've kind of been in soft launch mode for a long time because we wanted to build out some solid content. What's our strategy, I guess, in terms of, without getting into any specific associations, what's our goal to try to work with associations on this?
So right now we have a partnership with CMRTA where we have their own discount code and they have access to link through their association. And the vision behind that is that they also have the opportunity to give us direct feedback on the site as we are still in like soft launch mode. Um, they have the
And
opportunity to give
CM, sorry,
us.
just to clarify for the audience, CMRTA is the California Municipal Revenue and Tax Association. So these are typically staff people in the finance department who are analysts or managers, or they're dealing with business license issues or things of that nature.
Yes, thank you, Ryder.
Mm-hmm.
So the vision would be to partner with associations to essentially eventually take over their listserv and have their members starting to utilize Link in place of the listserv. Um, I understand that that change might be a bit abrupt, so we would just love to be able to introduce it to members and encourage them to actually use the platform. And then eventually it would be in a partnership with associations where, as part of being a member of that association, you get access to Link.
Yeah. And then the other, I mean, to be fair, at some point we're always looking at revenue as a model to both indicate to us that there's market interest in something, and also just to make it sustainable, right? Because if we're going to be sinking thousands of hours of staff time into content maintenance and support on this site over the years, we're going to need to make sure it makes sense. So we're also looking at a model that would allow an agency to essentially subscribe for their agency, and then it would give any member of their team access to the Link platform, with the goal being that, if you spend, I'm going to make up a number, but let's say they spend $1,000 or $2,000 a year to subscribe their agency, that would give all their staff access to Link to use it, to benefit from the insights of others, and to hopefully increase their productivity. And I think, at least for my take, is they should easily recoup $2,000 of labor cost just by having access to Link and the shared information that's available in there. And indeed, I would expect them to more than recuperate their investment, given the breadth of content and information that's in that. Is that an accurate description? Am I describing that right, since you're the product manager on this Link platform?
Yes, I'd say it is. Now that we've spent about 2 years developing this platform, and we've gotten some feedback from some trusted partners out in the local government world. And we're really proud of how far it's come and how much content we've been able to actually curate and develop, and seeing it come to life in this way, and knowing that the breadth of content that's actually on there. And I was just having a conversation yesterday and we were just rattling off like topics and ideas of local government things and searching for it. And almost everything was already on this platform. So just how much we've accumulated over time has been incredible. So I can only imagine if we had like more users on the actual site and members actively participating, how much more could grow in just even a shorter amount of time.
Yeah. So we keep talking about this thing, and we haven't actually even shared a URL. I guess we should probably do that too. We'll share it as a link in the YouTube in the description in the podcast app. But what is the URL for this?
So it's localinfonetwork.com.
All right. And once somebody comes on there, again, if they're from a government agency, they can sign up and create an account using their government email address and use the discount code you shared previously. And they'll be able to sign up for an account, get access to the resources, and look around, and maybe raise a question there, or engage in some forums or things like that, or otherwise just make sure they can explore the subject and see if and how it might be helpful to them in their daily jobs.
Yes. Sign up is very easy and very simple. And also, if you have any issues accessing your profile, you can always reach out to link@tripeppismith.com. Our team is always available to help.
Yeah. The and then so somebody signs up, they're using the system. They can start submitting questions and getting answers, hopefully, or engaging with their fellow audience members. They can certainly encourage their peers to come join it as well, and get access to the platform, and start putting it to use. And then using that, I assume, same email address, you would welcome any additional feedback they have on how to make the system bigger, stronger, faster. Is that correct?
Yes, this is definitely always going to be an open feedback loop where we are very open to feedback. Obviously, as a government employee or government official, like we want to be able to help serve you better. So if something is not necessarily like navigating properly or like not populating right, like we definitely want that feedback. I'd say 90% of the time you're going to be using the search bar. Everything is organized based on like subject matter. But the search bar is going to be your go-to tool on this site because it is just going to give you what you need in the quickest way. Obviously, you're more than welcome to like browse through all the forums, and I do encourage you to do so because there's some incredible topics that I don't think some of us have even thought of that other agencies are doing. And it's just good to see the innovation and thought behind a lot of these really great policies, programs, and services that are going on.
Yeah. And then one other thing is from a user perspective, similar to listserv is when you do sign up, you can create a profile that will generate email notifications to you. So if you want to be alerted to topics, subjects of interest, it can fire off emails to you and keep you apprised. So you don't have to check in every day to see what's going on in a link. You can rely on email communications to get you there, but you need to make sure you configure your profile to get that done.
Yes, notification. You are the master of your own notifications on this, which is great too. So you don't have to receive notifications of every post that comes through, although you can. But it really is up to you based on whatever you're working on or whatever your subject matter expertise is to opt into those things. I would encourage to just follow everything because I think there is benefit in getting to see new ideas that maybe you're not very privy to. But I think as far as like that also helps with career growth as well, because you are exposed to so many different ideas and thoughts that it only benefits you in the long run.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. All right. And then if folks want to follow up with you for more details about the product, or maybe they want to talk about licensing it for their entire organization, or talk about the long-term future of licensing it, since for now they could license it for free for the organization, how should people get a hold of you?
I shared the link email. Obviously, you can also reach out to me directly, Sydney@trapepesmith.com. I also am happy to jump on calls and do a whole demo and screen share and talk through what would be best as far as one, I guess, as an individual user, if you're just trying to understand how to use it effectively or like get used to the platform, I'm happy to kind of walk you through that. But also, if you're an association and interested in partnering in any way, I'm happy to jump on that call with you and talk through options as far as if there's something that you need to see tailored for your particular association. So, for example, maybe you do like job postings that you want just locked for your association in particular. We can easily make that happen as far as like locking a particular thread or forum on the site for just your association. So there are options and flexibility here. And I think that's the best thing about Link is that it is an innovative platform and also a collaborative one to where if this isn't just like the all said and done, but we can customize this to make sure it works for you.
Well, Sydney, on behalf of the Trapepes Smith team, I really appreciate your leadership and work on this product. It's been exciting to watch it evolve and grow. I think it's also very consistent with our mission, which is focused on becoming an institution of local government to kind of be one of those providers out there that people can rely on day in and day out to get the work done in cities across California and beyond. So thank you very much for being on this team and joining us today. And that's my report. My thanks to Sydney for joining us from the whole PublicCEO team and myself, Ryder Todd Smith. Thank you for your time. We hope you learned something new and inspiring that will help you in your public service. Remember, PublicCEO has a daily newsletter that is free to those who sign up at PublicCEO.com. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of the PublicCEO Report. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing across all of our platforms so you never miss out on this great content. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and Amazon Music.